Hey guys, welcome back to the Anime Philosophers. I'm Preetam,
I'm Alan.
and we
We are
are the
the
Anime
Anime
Philosophers.
Philosophers. Welcome back, guys. Today we have a special episode. We recently finished watching Violet Evergarden, and in this episode, we're doing our summary and our thoughts on this show.
Yeah, so just to remind you guys of what Violet Evergarden is about, we're just going to do a quick synopsis. Um, Violet Evergarden, a young girl raised for the sole purpose of decimating enemy lines in a time of war, is hospitalized and maimed in a bloody skirmish. She was left with only words from the person she held dearest, but with no understanding of their meaning. Recovering from her wounds, Violet starts a new life, working at CH Postal Services after a falling out with her new intended guardian family. There she witnesses by pure chance the work of an auto memory doll, writers that transcribe people's thoughts and feelings into words on paper. Moved by the notion, Violet begins work as an auto memory doll, a trade that will take her on an adventure and one that reshapes the lives of her clients and hopefully leads to self-discovery.
Yeah, as you guys can see from the synopsis, it's quite a packed anime. A lot of things going on.
Yeah. Um, we had a blast, covering Violet Evergarden over the past couple months. It was I think what 12 episodes, something like that.
13, yeah.
Yeah, 13 episodes. So a nice compact short series. But even though it was only 13 episodes long, there were all sorts of things we talked about, ranging from Turing test to
Right.
authenticity, all sorts of things.
Yep.
And I think going over all of those would take way too much time. So, if you're interested in all of the nitty gritty details, check out our previous podcasts. We go over all that stuff in great detail. But we just want to go over some of the most important ideas, the ones that stood out to us the most for this review. And we're going to start off with the biggest idea and probably an overarching theme for the entire show, and we call it the principle of reciprocity. And it's this idea that the best way to do something is to help others do that same thing. This is kind of echoed in the famous maxim: the best way to learn something is to teach. And I think we see it all over the place in the show, because the series is structured, the story is set up in a way such that because you have Violet, she has a traumatic past from being a weapon of war, kind of a tool of war. Um, and so she's taken many lives in the process. And the one person that she was close to, her only friend, ends up dying at the end of that war. So it's kind of this quest for meaning and purpose and trying to understand, what else there is other than fighting and receiving orders, basically.
Right. The whole drive was trying to find out what I love you means, right?
Yeah. That's what Gilbert told her at the very end.
Yep.
Yeah, I love you, and go on and make and keep living.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so it was a beautiful series, kind of going, trying to understand this idea of what it means to be human, like what it means to have a purpose to living, and what it means to love someone. So anyway, for her to learn this, because she has a very superficial understanding of human emotions,
Yeah.
and that led to actually a lot of like comedic moments in the show as she, took words at face value and stuff.
Right. Right.
So it's, how does she understand emotions and stuff like that? And it turns out the best way to do that is for her to become this auto memory doll, and start writing these letters for people. And in the process, she gets to meet new people, make new friends, and understand the conditions of human existence, I think.
Yeah. Definitely. So that was the principle of reciprocity was the overall theme that the anime followed almost every episode. And like Rita mentioned, some of the smaller themes that we talked about, like ghostwriting as a better option than Turing test to differentiate humans and machines.
Yeah.
And I think an interesting part of the episode was I forget which episode. I think maybe episode 5, where Violet goes to perfect her ghostwriting skills, and she scores all the top scores in in grammar and in speed of writing and everything, except for in actually transmitting emotion through her writing.
Yeah.
And that actually leads like a pretty funny scene, with the teacher looking at the letter. It's just like, this is a perfect letter, but this is not a letter.
Yeah, it's like a report.
It's like a report, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, we went. You can check some of our earlier podcasts on that. We went into some detail on the difference between authenticity and appearance, and what really makes this job as an auto memoir doll really a very human profession, something that really cannot be automated.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess moving on. I think we're ready to rate this anime.
Yeah. On our scale of Philosopher's Stones.
Yep, 1 to 5 Philosopher Stones.
Yeah. I mean, we're the anime philosophers. So, I mean,
Yeah, that's
what did you expect?
true. All right.
Okay, so let's do this. And
Okay.
so our categories are story, animation, music, philosophy, and of course we'll have the overall score at the end.
Yep. All right. So, Freedom, you want to start with the story category?
Yeah, so story. Here's some of the things I liked. I liked the episodic format of the series. I liked that it used side stories to take us on the journey of understanding what it means to be human with Violet. It kind of felt like we were riding along with her as she was discovering some of these things, and I think I discovered a lot of things while watching it as well.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked. There's some cinematic elements, some direction choices that I really really liked. For example, the those quick cuts to the episode title at the end,
Mm-hmm.
to like drive home some like
Right.
dramatic
Yeah.
lesson or whatever. That was really really well done. I looked forward to that every
Mm-hmm.
week. It's like what's going to be the last scene, and then how are they going to bring in that episode title. So I really enjoyed that. And the interesting thing is, when you create a anime that's so deeply philosophical and has so many elements of trauma and psychological distress like this, it's easy for it to become very dark.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought they did a great job balancing some of the darkness with humor as well,
Mm-hmm.
which you don't see as often. So we had Violet again, not really failing to read between the lines, and
Right. Right.
a lot of really funny scenes, honestly, with her. So I really liked that. Those are the parts that I really liked. There were a few things I didn't like about the story. Uh, Perhaps you could look at each episode being a little bit formulaic at some point, with her always doing going out, solving something, coming back. I thought it worked personally, but I can see why people would kind of maybe get bored of it after a while. I thought some of the flashbacks to Gilbert's death, sometimes they overused some of those scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought like there were many many times showing us that same scene,
Right.
so that got a little repetitive for me. And probably finally was the fact that the ending didn't have as huge an impact on me as the first half of the show. Basically,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it was a good ending, but for some reason it didn't emotionally impact me as much as the first six to 10 episodes or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess overall I have to give it a 4.5.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you with most of the things you said. I agree with the fact that overall it was a great storyline, lots of philosophical elements and everything. I would say for me, the one place I disagree is on the episodic nature, of the anime. I liked it in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but after a while, it got kind of, it got a little repetitive because you're getting to know Violet, obviously. I guess that's the point in each episode. But every time they're introducing new characters, so it's hard to like see how other characters also evolve, not just Violet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like a minor criticism, I guess, but
Mm-hmm.
but still, I think it might have been even better if there had been stories besides Violet from episode to episode.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, other than that, yeah, I agree with you on I agree with you on the title, the way they do it at the end, and and I agree with you on the other minor criticism is the second half or the second third of the anime after she finds out about Gilbert's death and she comes back from that. Uh, it's not as good as the first 8 episodes, I'd say. Yeah. So overall, I'll give it a 4.7 for story.
Okay, so pretty close.
Pretty close.
All right, let's move on to animation. This one's the easy one, I think, but
Yeah.
Alan, you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, I loved everything about it. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. I think the details of everything from the scenery to the mechanical details in her hands, in the typewriter, they were all very well done. The details on her hair and her dress and just everything about the show was very well done, very well animated.
Yeah.
Just loved it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I give it a 5.
All right. Um, and I give it a 5 too because it's definitely the most gorgeous anime of the season and, possibly ever. So,
Wow.
um, yeah, some of the details of the animation were just spectacular. I'm hard
Yeah.
pressed to find another anime I've watched that is quite as detailed as this. Especially, remember that scene where she's crossing that lake with the
Yeah, that's right.
umbrella,
That's right.
like the ripples in the water and stuff, and they had that time lapse around her, like in a 3D way.
Yeah, yeah.
I've never seen a scene like that in anime, so that was fantastic. So it's a 5 for me.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome. All right, so moving on to the music category. And Freedom, you are the music guy as
Yeah,
always.
I'm the resident musician. Yeah, yeah, I do like the intros and outros for our podcast and stuff like that. So yeah, do a little bit of music. For the music, I really enjoyed it. I thought the melodies were really memorable. I can even like hum some of the melodies right now, even though I haven't watched Violet Evergarden in like a week now.
Mhm.
But I still remember the key melody, so that's a very good sign. If the melodies are memorable, the composer did something right.
Yeah.
Um, I thought the music fit the mood of the series really well. It was mostly minimalistic as far as I remember. It didn't overpower the animation, and I think they wanted the animation to do the telling here because it was so rich. So the music was minimal, but it was just right. I also really liked the intro and outro songs as well. So the lyrics too were good, not just the music, but also the lyrics. So I
Yeah.
couldn't find anything that I didn't like about the music, so I'm giving it a 5.
Okay. Okay. I might have to change my score now too. Then, I mean, I definitely like the music. I The intro and outro for me were a 5. The only reason I didn't rate it a 5 was because I thought it was too minimal in the episodes, like between the intro and outro. But I guess I can see your point of view. Like they wanted the animation and the story to really pull the weight, not really have uh, like a super intense soundtrack or anything.
Hmm.
So maybe I'll change my score from 4.6 to 4.8.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 4.8 on that. All right. And okay, so now we get to move on to the philosophy behind the show.
Yeah. The philosophy part of the anime philosophers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we already talked about some of the major philosophical
Uh,
themes when we were, reading the summary and everything. I think I'd have to give it a 5. I don't see any major lack of philosophy. I think it covers some pretty interesting stories. Uh, each episodic story had kind of its own take on the emotional nature of people and the kind of relationships they build with each other. And the principle of reciprocity is a major, I think, philosophical lesson. So yeah, overall, I didn't find like for a 13 episode anime, I think it was pretty well packed with philosophy.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I thought I did a spectacular job of showing, not telling, which is sometimes difficult to do with philosophy. You know, I'm sure uh, listeners here who you probably find philosophy a little bit interesting, but I'm sure you've all read those dry essays on
Yeah.
philosophical discourse or whatever. And this anime does a great job of showing, not telling, which I really really liked. And some of these things are like quite hard to grapple with, especially like the idea of principle of reciprocity. It's like it's like a big picture kind of thing. If you just talk about it, it's kind of hard to understand. But the fact that she went through these every episode, helping someone else and taking away a lesson from it, I think really drives the point home. And again, we talked about like all sorts of things with Violet Evergarden, just like we talked about with a review of the Ancient Magus' Bride and how it kind of spawned all of these crazy tangents.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. So I can't find anything wrong with this. It did a great job on the philosophy. I've got to give it a 5.
All right, so that concludes all the categories, and if we average out all our scores, we both end up with an overall score of around 4.9,
Yeah,
which is pretty amazing.
yeah, that's a really good score. Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty hard to beat that.
yeah, 4.9. That's really really good.
Yeah. So yeah, the conclusion is we really liked it and we highly recommend it.
Yeah, go and watch Violet Evergarden.
Yeah, you won't regret it. I hope they
Yeah.
make a second season.
Oh yeah, I think at the end of episode
Right, I
13,
think.
there was like a new project confirmed or something.
Yeah. I hope that means a second season.
Yeah, so hopefully, well, we'll see. Hopefully, in a couple months, maybe a year or two, we'll be reviewing season 2. So
Yep. So stay tuned for that.
yeah, okay, that pretty much wraps up this review, guys. If you like what you heard, you enjoy listening to the Anime Philosophers, go ahead and give our video a like, and subscribe to our channel.
Sounds good. Until next time, guys.
Stay inspired.